All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're hopping into our next series immediately right off the bat. It is going to be Scarlett versus KeeN. And speaking of which, we're going to be spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner on top of the yellow Terran player. I already said his name, but here it is again. It's KeeN.
Messed it up. In the top left as the pink Zerg, it is Scarlett.
I also just realized I've totally been forgetting one of like the most awesome parts of my production, which is the victory screens that I always throw up. I have not thrown up a single one of those victory screens. Makes me sad.
Aw, I thought you were doing it this entire time. Now I'm super disappointed and life is over.
I have to outdo Graham in at least one way. It's definitely not going to be in running ads. Because
yeah, you're not.
So many ad breaks have been run by me with no ads.
You already do ads 10 times better than TvZ does.
Oh.
I would say no ads is better than the 6-9 minute break, whatever they take, because they don't account for delay. Or they do, but in the wrong way. Anyways, we've been like, I don't know, I feel like we've been teasing them for the last, like, ever since we learned about this, like, a month and a half ago, it's just been like, okay, you need 6 minutes for break? 10 minutes for break?
So to explain things for people, because I think you guys have explained, like, how you guys do it versus how they do it. But, like, because there is a delay, we do have, like, a couple minutes of delay on the stream. It means that the way things usually work is we have our 2-minute ad break. And then what ends up happening is normally we have to wait 1 minute, about like a minute to a minute and a half, and then hit the button to run advertisements. The problem is I get so into like, oh yeah, like let's go into the map intro, or you know, like let's talk about the game and do all this stuff, that I just forget to actually run the ads because I get so caught up talking instead when we get back.
Yeah.
That's why Zombie Grub is in charge of running ads for me right now.
So I guess, you know, first, like, some people don't know that ads don't run on the delay too, which has always been like a requested feature, but is probably never gonna happen. But like TvZ, they just, because they just sit and talk for the break screen, and they also just figure they're gonna miss the ad break like you do, that they literally wait for it. So it's 3 minutes plus 3 minutes, which is obviously a very long time. But enough about them. I'm not even here today, so forget them. We do have this pretty awesome CBT. Really glad we're able to catch it, as Lima has been running like fairly quickly. Of course, we are casting, or Pure Dragon is casting WCS, but probably going to be able to miss the first round, and which is not too big of a deal. It's double elimination. It's usually a pretty big bracket, and we do have some awesome games now. We talked a little about this earlier, that Scarlett might not be feeling the greatest versus Terran.
I feel like that might be somewhat accurate, that she doesn't want this game to go very long.
Yeah, because you see Ling's on the way, Roachhorn on the way.
Oh.
I mean...
Wait, there was no scouting of the third. KeeN never scouted the third.
Oh, okay, so he really has no idea about this. He just stopped scouting. I mean, he's not going for a super greedy build, but like tech-wise he is. The point is he's not going to have a lot of units early on. This is when you would really want a tank already with a medevac on the way.
Oh, and not only the SCVs going down, but I mean, all the Marines are going to go down because they didn't actually go up into the main base. Widowmine gets a couple of kills, 4 Zerglin kills, but more SCVs are going down in the natural expansion. I think Scarlett can secure a pretty big lead off of this, but she's going to just continue to make roaches behind this instead.
Yeah, it's really oddly timed, isn't it? Like, the Lings came in so much quicker than the roaches. This is almost like, you know, it's not an all-in. Like, I don't. This would look deceiving to me, right? At this point, I don't see any Banelings morphing or roaches on the way. I'm like, wow, that was a really weird Ling attack. Okay, I'll just clean this up and have no problem. But even if he does underestimate the power behind this, a tank drop usually covers like all-ins. You know, control it correctly.
This honestly just like smells to me like a no regret build, where it's all about just like, it's a big all-in and you're going to completely throw your opponent off. Like, they're not going to know what hit him. And I feel like that's exactly what's going to come in over here. Scarlett moves in, and KeeN very clearly does not know that this is coming because he's already started to mine for the natural again. Ravager's going to be able to pick away at the siege tank, which was actually not able to be picked up because there were Marines in the medevac.
Oh, that's game then. Like, that tank is so necessary. Second one's on the way, but with the roaches and probably the Lings now getting in, that tank's not going to be very be able to be maneuvered very well.
Wow, Scarlett, maybe not feeling the greatest right now in ZVT, but this first game is definitely going very, very well in her way. I will note, though, it's still 17 workers to 23, so like Scarlett doesn't have the biggest advantage, and this is starting to hold.
I should have looked at the drone count earlier. I assumed she was at something like maybe 30 or 35, but 23 to 18 is actually still probably in favor of the Terran because of mules. So definitely get back into droning. I would say this didn't even really even the game up, to be honest, because KeeN still has this tech that he can use. I mean, that's 20 workers killed. It's not like she killed, you know, not a lot of workers. It's just that she started off with so few.
Oh boy, Lair Tech is only just now starting up on top of, you know, not having a third and only having, now 29 workers, getting a couple more. The big thing I would say though about this situation is that KeeN probably, because you were saying like this is a really weirdly timed attack, KeeN might not actually know exactly how many workers Scarlett really has. He's gonna try and move out for a drop with it. I think the siege tank drop and just a push out is gonna be a pretty decent idea. I'm not so keen on the Marine move out just because I really don't know how, like this is just gonna get surrounded and killed off and shut down more map vision. But I would really like to see a move out with the medevac.
I agree. I think just a tank drop would be okay, especially if you get a second tank drop. 2 tank drops at a time can actually like cover each other and kill queens. But Scarlett, I think, is preparing for this, and she's gonna get a Spire with this lair. That's going to give her not just the ability to deal with any type of drops, because that's usually the Terran player's #1 to get back into a game is by dropping you. It's also going to be able to provide her more of the map control once she sends this push off. So unfortunately it is Frost. There's not really any abusive spots. The Marines can kind of go back to the tanks like this, but there's so few Marines that it's not even, I mean, they're dying to the tank shots themselves.
One Marine lives to tell the tale. I don't know if he has some special agreement with those sea shanks, like don't tell anyone what we just did and we'll let you live. But it's gonna be enough already. Like even the Viking has just been picking away at some of the Overlord, shutting down map vision. It's so hard for Scarlett to break this, and I want to note KeeN now knows that there's still no third expansion.
Yeah, I went and checked. So, and that is a very big deal. Scarlett could take it. She's certainly banking enough, but she wants all of those minerals and gas to go into mutas. So you gotta check, you know, make sure you have enough larva. She actually doesn't have enough larva unless it's about to pop. And then of course enough supply. But she could definitely get the third base once this attack is pushed off. And the mutas in combination with everything else should be able to. This really isn't being reinforced super heavily, but I think it's a closer push than she would really have hoped for. Like maybe if this was cross spawns, it would be nothing at all, but he is trying to reinforce.
Yeah, KeeN isn't really throwing down missile turrets or anything, so I'm not entirely sure if, I mean, KeeN's gotta know, like, something is coming, because I don't see any, like, giant Zergling floods right now. There aren't, like, a massive number of units, so now he sees the mutals, definitely confirms any suspicions that there was some sort of tech going up behind this, but I feel like KeeN's already in such a nice position over here. It's gonna get cleaned up by the mutals eventually, but, oh, actually, he's gonna lose all of the siege tanks. That,
I don't know about saving the Marines, because with the Widowmine hit especially, the Marines could probably have gotten 1, maybe even 2 of the mutants if the medevac stayed around, but loses the tanks instead. This is a very wonky game. I mean, because the action continued going, I didn't get to mention that, you know, the last time we cast Scarlett in a ZVT, she brought a Terran down to 4 SCVs. And she was on 3 bases. She wasn't even like this desperate as with this all in, and it still took her like 20 minutes to kill the guy.
Oh boy. Well, she's doing a pretty good job with the mutals harassment so far. Able to get a couple of worker kills, able to pull these Marines around. Now, Stim is not finished up, so it's going to be a very difficult time for the Marines to actually chase these mutals around, but missile turret does finish up with the natural. Is going to be able to push them back for at least a little bit.
Yeah. I think Scarlett needs to double expand. Like, she really needs to make up for a lot of time. I mean, when you look at the clock right now, it's 10 minutes, and she's only just on halfway to her third base. She's going to transfer back into Roach, it looks like, with those missile upgrades. Not going to go for Mutilating Bling. That might be a big surprise to KeeN. He's not getting Marauders, and he's not getting any more tanks. That may be the biggest surprise.
Yeah, and I think, as you were saying, like, this could really catch him off guard, especially since he's just trying to make, not only just not making Marauders and everything, but making more Marines and Liberators, expecting that this Mutals count is going to grow. Because, I mean, the Mutals count did grow a little bit. He saw 7, then he saw 8, 9, 10, 11 Mutalists. It looks like it's a growing count, but now he might sort of start to realize, like, wait a second, that Mutals count, it doesn't seem like she's continuing to invest into them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, if she could get that stim, that would be glorious.
Oh,
like,
that
you
would have
really
been nice.
just do not want to push without stim, but anything is also good. Like reactors, an upgrade would be really cool too. But with Liberators now being pumped out, those are really going to cover literally all of KeeN's bases. Of course, with any handful of Marines he has too. But you know, this is something we don't see too often. Muta's actually getting control over a Terran's base because Liberators seem to be too hard of a counter. There they come now, as you can see, and that's why I feel like, you know, there are less and less games with mass mutas and Muta laying bling. As KeeN goes down and sees a single roach that wasn't rallied, I don't know if it'll tell him, like, hey, she's definitely going for roaches, but it's not this composition is bad against them at all, especially without Corruptors. Like, Liberators will be able to siege up, but it still might be a surprise.
Yeah, you know, I think the other big thing that I saw is that they're like the gas guys were just finishing up and also not really mining a whole lot. So he might have actually had a little bit of a tell over there. Like, wait a second, no, she hasn't been taken up. She's been making a lot of units over here, and I've actually got to be careful. But no, he still charges on in, and I think he's gonna lose almost everything over here.
I can see why you thought that would be a good trade. There were even upgrades at the time. Maybe you thought that you would have a bit of a booster or something, but it was interesting to watch him not siege any of his Liberators up. He was so scared of the Mutas coming in and getting the Glaive Worm in there, I suppose, but I think 1 or 2 could have been sieged up, and that would have maybe helped. Again, so there's so many Ravagers, they also just could have been corrosive bile to death.
That's definitely true. Although corrosive bile is going down on top of the Liberators means that they're not going top of the Marines, which also would have been kind of nice, but yeah, it's a bit of one of those spur of the moment, you have to make a decision. So those are the decisions KeeN makes, and I don't really think that they're going to work out too well for him, because now Scarlett, I feel like she has a pretty scary army. She's leading up like 30-40 army supply. Now granted, Roach is not exactly supply efficient, but this is still a pretty decently sized army.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And now you can see KeeN's production is matching more to what you would expect versus Roach Ravager. So Marauders are on the way, more tanks are on the way, more medevacs, of course, too. Medevacs being a super big problem, actually, as they almost get picked off as well. Just not the sustainability for this bio.
Yeah, Liberators all have to unsiege as the Mutals come in. They start to chase off those Mutals, but the Ravagers are getting a little bit of damage on. There's just not any Roaches to tank the shots anymore. The Siege Tank on the high ground is definitely a big MVP right now, as it is just whittling away at that Ravager count. There's only 3 or 4 Ravagers left over.
Yeah. This is not a bad hold from KeeN. Even though we lost 20 SCVs, I mean, that could have gone better, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But still, like, his army supply is actually better than Scarlett's right now. And Scarlett, you know, she's on 3 bases. Her main is actually mined out, so 3 bases is not correct at all. She's on 2 bases, kind of 1.5. And this is where, like, maybe she did have the double expand, but she used all of her minerals in the attack, and is still doing so as well.
Yeah, and now Scarlett, she has to make that hard decision, like, do I try and just reproduce the units that I just lost because I need to make sure I don't die to a counterattack, or what? And it looks like she might not even have a lot of time to make that decision, because there is already a drop over the 3rd, doing a little bit of damage, at least denying mining over there. Moving up to the main base, not going to be able to find a whole lot over there, but she is going to lose her 4th expansion.
Yeah, and that is definitely a necessity at this point. Even only on 57 drones, which isn't like a extreme amount, they still oversaturate 2 bases, barely 2 bases. So definitely needs that 3rd base to get that saturation back up. They've actually been, like, with all the command center liftoffs and the SCV kills, they've been just swapping back and forth. If you press 1 to look at the graphs, like, it's actually a roller coaster ride. But I think that KeeN's army is the one that usually gets better with time, right? Especially if you can't out infestors to Roach Ravager. So I gotta give this game to KeeN if he doesn't screw up.
All right, well, here we go. KeeN is moving across the map, and Scarlett's got to make some sort of miraculous hold over here. Some good Ravager shots can definitely turn a game around in an instant, but most Terran players are not going to let that happen, and I don't think KeeN is one to let it happen either.
Yeah. It is a little worrying for KeeN, since he is also kind of going more and more all in with this. He's lifting his main command center, and he's never rebuilt any SCVs. Lift ups are always possible. The mutas are mostly gone, or all gone.
Oh.
3 left over.
And Scarlett is going to be so out of position.
Doom dropping in a Zerg never seems like a good idea. I'm just going to say it, but maybe this is the only time.
Well, going to be able to snipe off 2-2, potentially. If if KeeN decides to focus fire down. Not often to do so, though. There we go. Gonna be able to snipe off at least +2 weapons.
That's pretty big. Now KeeN has a definite army supply, or an upgrade advantage. And that's, I mean, the armor supply is actually even in numbers, but when you really think about Bio versus Roach Ravager, you're usually going to give that to Bio, especially because the medevac count has increased. Like, KeeN has now started to counter what Scarlett is doing.
Yeah, and KeeN can continue to do this back and forth between the main and the third over and over and over again, especially with the army supply just continuing to grow. And yeah, says, okay, you moved your entire army down to the third, that's enough of an army. I can move up to the main base. And eventually, Scarlett might end up even losing like the Roach Warren or the Spire or something if she's not careful, but KeeN could just continue to macro up behind this.
Yeah, and remember, this isn't KeeN's only army. Like, his economy wasn't super great, but his SCVs are transferred to the 4th base, so his production has been chugging along. Even found in him to find that +3. He's seriously looking to win.
Ooh. Doing a pretty good job of it. I also want to note really quickly, Snoot resubscribed for 19 months in a row.
Yeah.
Big thank you to Snoot. Maybe you can give some pointers to Scarlett and CBT.
Yeah, apparently, I mean, that's the matchup that Snoot says if he gets to the late game, he never loses.
Yeah. Oh boy. Spire's getting focused fire down by 2 Marauders. Corruptors coming into the mix to try and deal with the Marauders. Oh god, actually, I think that, okay, yeah. Ravagers should be able to kill off the Marauders in time, just barely.
It's super close. The main push is commencing, though. Doesn't even really have to worry about creep at this point, or Driver only benefits so much from it. And is just pushing right into that natural. And I don't think Scarlett can do anything. GG!
Yep. KeeN walks away with victory, as my overlays are a little bit slow to transition. I tried to throw up the victory screen this time. Yeah, victory screen, awesome.
Yeah, victory.
That wasn't delayed at all or feel really weird. All right, well, KeeN goes up 1-0 versus Scarlett, despite the fact that that game started off with Scarlett going for a 2-base all-in. I will say, like, Scarlett did not the worst job of making it like look a lot closer, despite the fact that I think that we said like, oh yeah, Scarlett's looking really good after all the damage. Wait, this isn't as much damage as we expected?
Yeah. I had no idea such an all-in actually existed, to be honest. Like, that almost looked like a 1-base all-in without you drones.
Yeah. 23 drones. I think there were like 5 drones mining at the natural. It's like, that's cool. This is like a nice fake out if your opponent doesn't scout the third. Which actually, now that I think about it, on that map, Frost, I can kind of see like you not expecting your opponent to like always make it all the way back to that map or that third expansion. Especially like once Zergling speed finishes up and everything, you pick off the Reaper, you're like, wait a second, I can actually get away with this, and like there's nothing they can really do to scout this until they get out like a Viking or something.
Yeah.
All right.
We're ready.
Next map is going to be Dust Towers. We'll see you guys there. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are hopping into game number 2 between these two players as we spawn down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map on top of the pink Zerg player, looking to bring it back. Give it up for the North American, the Canadian, Scarlett.
The top right, as the yellow Terran, he is the Korean KeeN.
Oh boy. I actually sort of wonder these days, like, no regret in Scarlett not being able to make it into the season 2 of GSL or SSL. I mean, both of them actually came kind of close to it, especially no regret. But what are they really keeping themselves busy with in Korea these days? Like, Scarlett's playing in this, But I assume that if she somehow manages to beat KeeN and come back in the series and like bring it, and like, you know, win the semifinals, make it all the way to the finals, WCS DreamHack Valencia starts. Is she just gonna forfeit in the finals? Like, what's she gonna do? To play in the qualifier?
Oh, yeah, I didn't even consider that.
Because I feel like that would be pretty important for her, considering she doesn't really have like anything else in Korea to play for.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly didn't consider it. I mean, it's really weird sometimes. Like I guess because like we're personal friends with Scarlett. Like she really wants to live in Korea because she really loves it. And she's actually practicing a lot. It's not like she's being super lazy. Like she's not only playing in this cup, but also like the DouYu Cup and whatever she can find. But she stopped streaming, which kind of sucks. And then, of course, she preferred to go for the GSL SSL qualifiers over DreamHack Austin, which was arguably like one of the easier tournaments that she could have participated in. So I don't know where she's at right now. Like she just doesn't really like care, or like participating in offline American or European tournaments isn't like her main focus, or what. But
I guess it's sort of weird because one thing that I know is like, oh, it's not super common, but I think that something that, for example, happened in tennis, so there are players who would say like, I'm actually not gonna worry about this tournament. Like, I'm not even gonna bother to participate in it because this isn't the tournament that I'm looking to do well in. So I'm just gonna sit back, I'm gonna focus and try to practice for like this other event that's gonna be happening like a few weeks later, or like a month later. Like this is not going to be worth my time. I'd rather like invest that time into practice instead of traveling and everything else.
It's such an odd. I feel like it's the wrong year to be like practicing Korea, right?
Yeah, right. This is like the best year for foreigners ever.
Yeah.
And then she's like, time for Korea.
Yeah, but it's her prerogative, I suppose. But it is an interesting question. I guess we get closer. Maybe we should just like tell us, or I have no idea. But did you look at the qualifiers? Like she signed up, right?
I know No Regrets signed up. I didn't actually see Scarlett, but I didn't give it a thorough look through for her. I will note really quickly in this game, we do have KeeN going for one Brax Factory and then going straight into a third. So a relatively fast third. It's not like the fastest third, but it is a fairly fast one with a Hellion opening.
Yeah. This is something that if you scout early enough as a Zerg player, you can actually try and cheese an all-in, and it's fairly effective, but she didn't scout, she just used an all-in, and arguably like you don't want to do that twice in a row, especially since the first one failed. And it is going to be just a macro game, so a very easy Reaper Hellion defense. Very funny to see 3 Reapers, something we didn't really note, but didn't really play a huge part. It's just helping provide a bit more buffer. But she's actually really good at target firing, focus firing, both of those Hellions down. Yeah,
and so far Scarlett hasn't taken any damage at all. Like I don't even know if a creep tumor has been lost at this point. So Scarlett's done a really magnificent job. And you were talking about like, it was sort of the slightly odd, like the extra Reaper or two in this push-in over here for KeeN, but it really hasn't done anything for him so far. And like, I think the big thing again is Scarlett is known for her creep spread. If she's able to get this out already down to the low ground, that makes it so much easier to start spreading it out. Because now you can start getting it up to the top side and the bottom side. And it's really hard for the Hellions and the Reapers to kill off both of those creep tumors.
Yeah. It's actually a little surprising to see KeeN go for such a standard opener. It leads the best into a third CC. Again, like the extra 2 Reapers are a little weird, but otherwise, like Hellions, obviously. It leads the best in the third CC, but it's like Hellions haven't done very much in StarCraft 2 for the past like 2 years. Either they're Hellbats and they win with an all-in, or they get denied, or they try and suicide, and sometimes they get like a good number of drone kills, but they're not really, creep killing kings anymore. They kind of scout for, I guess, the speedlings, which Scarlett has been very greedy about, I want to know. She's going for mutilating bling, it looks like, but she waited a long time to get speed, and she got no scouting whatsoever. Like, seriously no scouting. So, like, I'm surprised she so calmly dealt with that with Queens, when those Hellions could have turned into Hellbats, and a Medevac could have brought, like, 6 Marines over. I would have been scared.
Yeah, that is sort of weird. KeeN also moves into the natural expansion with the Reaper. He split one off and saw the double evolution chambers, saw the Baneling nest, so probably has a pretty good idea of what he's going to be up against. He knows it's going to be Mutilating Bling, and he's going to try and go for the drops before that Spire actually finishes up. He's going to be coming in actually maybe like a solid 15-20 seconds before the Spire finishes up, and is going to have a decent amount of time to get some damage done.
The good reaction. Even without the Banelings, if Lings are on the low ground, you're not going to drop into Lings and top the Spore Crawler. So very nicely done. I mean, this I feel is where Scarlett does really thrive. Not that she's bad with Roach Ravager, she's bad with all lanes, and of course we all know that she has like wonky builds. Proxy Asher is a problem, but like the very typical Hellion defense, like that's so hard to swarm someone's Liberty, right? Like she excels at that. The muta control that she's going to be able to get to should be like really fantastic, and just the overwhelming macro, because this is all very standard push outs from KeeN, and it's not really doing anything. Even if it clears up creep, she still has creep putting creep queens that can easily put it back down again.
Yeah, and even the scan, I don't even think that KeeN's going to be able to get all of the creep tumors. There's even one up at the high ground that he's not going to be able to get, and as you were saying, there's so many active creep tumors, he's not really going to be able to clean up all of it. And here we go. Reapers and the Hellions going to get, or at least the Reapers get surrounded. A Baneling manages to clean some of them up. KeeN going to try and transform into Hellbats. I guess he finished up the armory since he's already started up 2-2 at this point. But I will also say, like, he's just barely lagging behind on those upgrades as well, which is, I think, really awesome for Scarlett as a Zerg player to be a little bit ahead in upgrades.
Yeah, she did get those before going for any tech, and that it's paying off right now. I mean, the mutas aren't here to help out, but the ground force was certainly enough. And now the mutas can not only chase after this, deal with drops, but also maybe get into KeeN's main base. This split is pretty good, but it's just there's not a lot to soak up the Banelings, so I think Scarlett should have taken an engagement here. I don't mind this at all, but maybe be careful about the reinforcements.
Yeah, Zerglin's gonna stream in.
Still Marauders.
Ooh, yeah. This is really interesting because Scarlett has barely used up any of these Banelings. Oh, Baneling's getting focus fire down. Gonna be able to explode on some of the Widowmines, and take down a bit of the Wallen, but not exactly the best trades over there for Scarlett. Zergling forces are starting to wear thin, and some more Banelings going off on supply depots.
Pushing probably a little too far.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest problems right now with Mutilating Bling that we've seen with not only her, but like when Sulky plays it on this map, and it's very popular on this map, is that there seems to be a lot more over-dedication than there was in part of the Swarm. And I don't know if that's like an income thing, because the income is based, differently, and all the pacing of the game is different, or just, or what. But, we see common, like, just overextensions with Mutilating Bling. It gets cleaned up because, like, Liberators are good, or Widowmines are good, whatever you want to call it. And then they can't remax as well. Maybe it's a larva thing. Maybe they need four larva. I think that's a really good idea. No, it's not.
Yeah, I also wonder if it's just like a bit of a thing where you don't want to let your opponent build up their army too much, because just if the Liberator camp gets a little bit too ridiculous, or they get up with too many Marines or something, it's a little bit harder to deal with than maybe in Heart of the Swarm. But the Mutals are actually finding a really nice opportunity to get a lot of damage done. There's no missile turrets over here, and at the same time, KeeN is kind of sitting idly with his army at the other side of the map in the middle, because he's busy trying to deal with the Mutals harassment.
Yeah, this is really good muta harassment, and it's all KeeN's fault, basically.
Oh my god.
Not having appropriate defense.
Like,
they're just gonna bounce back and forth. He never even bothered getting any Liberators. Even after, like, knowing mutas were out from, a fairly early point, Liberators take care of this no problem. They'd at least scare the mutas away.
Oh, the entire army is pulled back. 28 workers killed. I don't care if you're on 3CC. 28 workers killed versus 81 workers available for Scarlett. Like, this is almost at the point of overjoining for Scarlett, but I think that it's okay. The economy is working out.
Yeah. And if she can get to Ultralisk, which the Hive is just now finished up, then there's nothing KeeN can do.
Oh, Widowmines! Oh my god!
Oh
okay,
my
that was
god.
a lot of Mutalisk. But I still feel like it's okay.
That helped, but
it helped.
I still don't think KeeN can do anything. It's really mostly bio. Like, there's only a handful of Widowmines, only 4. Not that great, and there's so many Banelings.
Oh,
and she can be
Jesus.
at the same time.
Oh my god, there are 65 Banelings right now, Zombie Grub.
Jesus.
And KeeN's moving down the ramp. He's like, nope, 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 get out of that. Oh my god. I don't even think my PC can handle this many glowing banelings. It is just a massacre.
It is. No ultras necessary. KeeN just gets steamrolled.
Wow. And I want to note at the end of that, there was 25 banelings and only like 8 marines left over. There was like 3 banelings per marine still left. Well, Scarlett manages to bring it back and is going to take it to an ace match in the round of 8. I will note this is our last round of 8 match. The winner of this is going to go on to face off versus the winner of Soloist versus Oracle, which it looks like was Soloist 2-0.
KeeN mistakenly chose Indion at first. Not cool.
At least he didn't choose Ruins of Saros. I remember there was one day, I think it was actually one of the BaseTradeTV broadcasts. Like in my little thing that I load up my map intros in, I just have like the first letter or like the first word for each one of the map intros. So for example, for Ruins of Endion, I just have Ruins. So there was like, I think an entire day that I was just playing the Ruins of Saros intro for every single time we went to Ruins of Endion, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
But all right, Frozen Temple is gonna be our first or our last map, I should say, for this best of 3. In ace match, we're gonna find out whether or not the Canadian Zerg player Scarlett is gonna advance on, or if it's gonna be the Korean KeeN. We'll see you guys in a little bit. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we are spawning in game number 3 as the series is tied up 1-1. It's the ace match. And up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the yellow Terran player. He showed some really good defense against the all-ins, but actually maybe struggled a little bit in the late game, surprisingly enough. Give it up for KeeN.
In the bottom right, as the pink Zerg, she is Scarlett.
Is she still technically on Team On Fire?
I guess so. Her Korean team is I don't actually know. I think it's just one word.
I feel like you just tried to do math on stream and then gave up.
Yeah. Well, sometimes like they actually have like loan words, right? So it'd be really easy. Like Alive's clan tag is Alive or something.
Alive.
Yeah, exactly. So I took a shot. It didn't work.
At least you were willing to give it a shot. Never do Korean on stream, Zombie Group.
Yeah, that's my bad. I asked Scarlett if she's doing the WCS. She said she wasn't sure, but then she asked me if she had to play on Arena. Apparently, and Arena is in the map pool. KeeN, I guess, just wanted to go for Frozen. Well, actually, want to go for Ruins.
Arena's the semifinals map, so yeah, it's the first one.
Oh well, she's gonna have to play it sometime.
Guaranteed.
And we said that Soloist was a Terran, right?
Yeah, I believe so. We casted him earlier today, I think.
Oh, well, I have bad news for her.
Oh boy.
Rub it in her face if she wins, but only if she wins.
All right.
Frozen Temple, I guess it's actually one of the more basic maps as well. Like you have Dusk Towers, right? But then you have Frozen Temple, which isn't like, it's not as big, but it certainly is. It's not full of a lot of tricks or anything like that. Like not many destructible rocks, and it's actually pretty plain. I really hope they keep this one over Dusk Towers, to be honest, because I know that that's what they're both. It's either one or the other. And
sick of Dusk Towers. I'm just like done with Dusk Towers.
Right.
And I'm a Protoss player. It's the map that I'm good on.
I think it's boring at this point. It's been in the map pool for a very long time. I'm ready for it to go. It can leave.
You know what? You know what made it worse? Like, thank God it's not like this anymore. But the fact that Orbital Shipyard was in the map pool at the same time as Dust Towers for like such a long time, it was like a full year. I just felt like I was watching the same map a lot of the time when I watched those, because like it didn't really change until until it gets like the 4th expansion. Then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, Dust Towers is an easier 4th compared to Orbital. But it was like, oh my god, I am getting so sick of this map being the first 2 maps every single series for an entire year. Like, can we please, like, I think that's why I started liking Piranha Terraces. It was like, look, at least it's not Dust Towers or Orbital Shipyard again.
I absolutely agree. That was a pretty boring part, because it was also like they didn't want to change the maps from the beta, so like that map pool existed for a very long time.
Yeah, I think people were still figuring things out, right? It was like you want consistency in maps, because you don't want it's like you're changing the balance and you're changing the maps, because then it's like basic science, right? You want a control group and you want like one variable that you're changing. If you're changing too many variables, it's hard to determine what's the cause of the change.
I guess. It was a boring part.
Yeah, I agree.
We do have KeeN now picking up in a medevac, so something a little more important. One of mine, 6 Marines. I thought Scarlett was gonna go for a Overlord drop because she was getting speed and like lings in a very like, you know, interesting position, but never went for it, just did a little bit of scouting. This is very commonly followed up by tank push, and you can kind of abuse the rocks too, or abuse the ramp a little bit if you like really do well. But
Scarlett might actually have a little bit of trouble with this. There's only like 6 Zerglings out on the map. The roaches are coming out, but I was gonna say, you know, if KeeN actually decided to move up into the main base or something, maybe could have continued to do a little bit of damage. But with the medevac with the siege tank coming out across the map, Scarlett is really going to be relying on getting some good Ravager hits.
Yeah, this isn't snowballing yet. It's when that 2nd tank comes and the Marines are still alive, they're like, uh-oh, that 3rd going to go down. Maybe it still will. It's already halfway. I mean, this like right now she has to push in, or this tank is going to continue firing into it. She does, just waiting for those Ravagers to pose, and it looks like KeeN, anticipating maybe more than there really was, instantly picks up. Maybe just wants to abuse that main base.
Yeah, I mean, keeping the siege tank and almost all of these Marines alive is still pretty good, and this is a pretty good position as well, because now it's easy to move back over to the 3rd as soon as there are too many units over here. And again, that 3rd is so low that Scarlett has to split up her units. She has to leave her queens over there. Already losing one of the queens. Might end up losing a 2nd one. That Reaper
grenade kind of helped it.
Yeah.
Medevac, oh, so close to going down. That would have picked up the Marine. Sorry, okay, not that useful, but still, saving the medevac is always very nice. And Scarlett does push that back. Definitely seen cleaner holds of that, but I've also seen much worse, like actually losing the base and just overwhelmed. So put that kind of like middle of the road, I suppose. Put a pin in it, see how it affects later. I think what's most important is always seeing what it affected in their pacing of the game, like how it messed up their macro. And she was banking quite a few minerals for some time, only just using it like on a bunch of more drones basically. So the reply isn't like, it's not too great, but KeeN is trying to get his own 3rd. He really delayed Stim and Combat Shield to do all that, so harassment is something she has to deal with, but not really a main push.
Oh, yeah, and losing another queen over there. And I think really noting, like, what you were talking about, the macro and everything sort of slipping. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that all the queens are over at the front. She was losing queens, so even the queens that she was remaking, she was like, I gotta send these to the front too, because I gotta deal with this little weird push-in. Liberator does try to siege up, but does not get almost anything done. I think it actually got taken out almost solely by the Spore Crawler. I don't even think I saw a queen over there.
I think that one queen got like a couple of pot shots in, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see.
Great. Yeah. The, as you said, like the larva was a bit of a problem. Now it's starting to get ramped up again, and her supply is looking a lot better with the drones, most importantly. She's... Oh, okay, so this is interesting just because, I mean, we haven't been casting as for Scarlett as, say, like, Nurchio and Snoot, right? On BaseTradeTV, but she is going to be going for double upgrades, fast hive, get into those ultras, and in the mid game, should she need it, Roach Ravager with maybe Infestors. I mean, this is what Nurchio was doing almost every single game. A little more emphasis on the Roach Ravager, but still the same idea. And it's tricky, you know, like Nurchio had pretty good defense. He was split perfectly every single time there was a split push, and he just made Roach Ravager look, you know, well in balance, frankly. But I don't know if Scarlett can do the same thing. I don't know if KeeN can actually pressure her to make her do the same thing. He's still waiting on Stim.
Yeah, not only that, but just talking about upgrades, 1-1 already been finished up for a while for Scarlett. She's already started up on 2-2, and the meanwhile, 1-1 is just kind of starting to finish up for KeeN. He's gotten his armory on the way, so it can maybe start up 2-2 very quickly. But this 1-1 timing push, it's going to be hitting at possibly a really, really bad time with the Infestors about to pop out. Pathogen Glands is not a research, though, so maybe has a little bit of time to get something done.
I think what's happening is that they feel so comfortable not going for Pathogen Glands because, well, you take into account that they have to still clear up creep. They're almost always going to clear that up first, especially if it's any like decent amount of creep, and it is for Scarlett.
It's Scarlett, so.
And then also like they usually have a tank hop as well, and that's probably around the same amount of time it takes to get a fungal on a brand new infestor. And if there's any fungals at all, it's like having any high Templars at all. Like the Terran has to take it super seriously, even if they might not really have a lot of power.
Yeah. Well, being able to throw down the fungal on the Siege Shanks means that they cannot be picked up. They are immediately taken out. The north side getting a little bit more done in terms of cleaning up the creep and be able to make it in the natural. Scarlett gonna have to retreat on back. Be able to clean up all of the medevacs with the units inside, though. Scarlett still hasn't even lost 2 drones over here yet.
Yeah, this was really good defense. I mean, you know, it could have been a little bit better, but that was... No drones going down, only have to pull them off of the mineral line. That's actually really fantastic. Her upgrades are finishing as well, and the hive finish. So a little bit interesting to see her only go for adrenal glands, but I think she just hasn't found the time to go for an Ultralisk Cavern. But when she does, I don't know if KeeN is going to be able to show us the magic no other Terran has so far of defeating Ultras. Well, Byun, but that's Byun.
All right, well, moment of truth as KeeN isn't super far behind in army supply, but it's, as you were saying, that big tech advantage that Scarlett has going for the hive tech. Eventually going to be getting ready to get up those Ultralisks is going to be the big scary moment as Ultras Cavern, as you said, finished up. Chitinous plating is on the way, right? No, it's not started yet. I guess
thought
just
actually the Ultras Cavern wasn't down, so that was, what do I know, right?
Oh.
Yeah, I would have thought they've seen chitinous plating on the production tab.
Yeah. Well, I guess +3 armor more important than chitinous plating since it takes a little bit longer, but chitinous plating is finally started. KeeN maybe has a window of 1.5 to 2 minutes to make something happen, to push Scarlett back, to delay her a little bit, and to get up some sort of response. The Liberators are starting to come out, but the Liberator count is quite literally sitting at 2 in production. That's the Liberator count. That's the Ultralisk response right now.
I am very curious to see how this late game is going to look. Again, talking about Inertio, he made it look almost well, he did make it look unbeatable. Like, the Thermal really could not beat him once he got to Ultralisk. KeeN, I don't know if he can be like Byun, and Byun even, like, had a really hard time dealing with Ultras against, it was one of the Europeans in the wildcard group, can't remember what it was. So what can KeeN do? What does Scarlett look like, actually, with Ultras? It has, once again, been a very long time since we've really seen her in action, much less, like, late-game action. I don't know, maybe she's gonna over-dedicate with Ultras. It's always the fear, I think, is pushing into Liberator zones and not taking them seriously.
Yeah, I think I'm not as concerned about that fear, though, because when these Ultras move in, if she moves across the map right now, there's gonna be 4 Liberators, and I feel like just those alone can be taken care of with a couple of good Ravager shots and these 4 fungal growths that should be available. Actually, it might be closer to like 6 or 7, but Zerglin's trying to move around on the right-hand side of the map. Not really able to make a whole lot happen since KeeN has those units over there. And Scarlett's actually having a bit of trouble finding a nice open position. Does manage to sneak some Zerglins in the natural.
Yeah, okay, a couple of CDs going down. I don't, like, tanks are also, like, okay, honestly. And bio, as long as it's not fungal, and there was the fungal, can also target fire those Ultras. So very quickly you see the Ultras do go down. Not a super great push by Scarlett.
Man.
Into the natural, adrenal glandlings.
4th expansion going down. Adrenal gland Zerglings do not care if you're a planetary fortress. Drop in the main base does get cleaned up, though, very, very quickly. And Scarlett, was that enough damage? Killing off the 4th?
I think it was. The thing is that even if he wanted to push and counterattack, thinking like, okay, I have to, and then maybe it's a golden opportunity because they just got a bunch of Ultras, Scarlett had a bank. So there's 5 Ultras, and even if it was like 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 5, like a slow roll up, it still would be enough. I mean, there's just not enough Ultralisk units in this army, and it has to be set up really properly to even have a chance. Oh yeah, I think this army is going to get immediately surrounded and completely massacred over here. The Ultralisk now it does not really have an answer at this point, and it's just going to be able to chase KeeN back across the map, who, again, lost 30 SCVs in that earlier push-in from Scarlett, so is sitting 70 to 37 workers,
had to lift up his main orbital command over to the 4th expansion just to get mining over there. This is gonna be pretty much an all-in at this point.
Mm-hmm. The ultras, they just don't have an answer. You can't really afford ghosts. I mean, I commend KeeN to try and get to all of the, like, you check off like all of the above, like ghosts, liberators, bio, even a couple of tanks, but Scarlett just got too fast to ultras, or KeeN got too slow to an economy, like whatever one you want to call it, and he was unable to get that perfect anti-ultra army. It really wasn't even that much of the fault, though. It was just more like he didn't have enough of an army protecting that 4th planetary, and things just went south from there.
You know, it's so funny because this whole series started off, we were talking about how Scarlett maybe not feeling the greatest about her late game, but it almost seems like, no, actually, Scarlett, you lost the game you all in. You should just play the late game because your late game is, at least versus KeeN, looking pretty damn good.
Right? And honestly, I think the next matchup she has against Soloist, I think she'll win that. GG. Yeah. Scarlett takes it 2-1, but not to like knock Soloist or anything because he's like a newbie, but his bracket, besides Tails, maybe, I don't know, I haven't really been impressed with Tails lately. I don't know who Oracle is. I think that Soloist is going to be a worse player than KeeN. I don't know how much worse, but I think he's going to be on par, and Scarlett should probably take it.
Yeah, I would actually definitely agree with that. I think that being able to beat KeeN is going to mean probably more than going up against Soloist and beating Soloist. It just happens to be the order that the brackets end up playing out in. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hop to a short little break as we get ready to hop into that next series. You guys are watching the Olimoleague. I'm going to remind you guys, since we have a few more people filtered in over here, if you guys want to support the Olimoleague, one of the few and only real Korean tournaments that players can play in besides the GSL and the SSL right now. Since, you know, if you didn't make it into those, you're kind of shit out of luck in terms of individual leagues for the most part. Olimoleague is one of the few opportunities that a lot of these players have. Go check out patreon.com/Olimoleague. Even if you're willing to contribute like $1 or $2, I know it's not a lot like per week or something for the weekly tournaments. If enough people do it, it really does add up. And that's exactly where the Patreon is sitting right now with 99 different patrons. Maybe it's actually increased since I last checked it earlier during the broadcast and everything, but it really does add up quite quickly when just even small little bits are added in. So if you want to support that, go check out patreon.com/Olimoleague. We're hopping to a short little break. We'll see you guys in a little bit.